Hello, everyone. My guest today is Vinay Nathan. He is the CEO and co-founder of Altizon Systems. He has 15 years of varied experience across sales, marketing, engineering, and product management. Before Altizon, he was VP of sales at Persistent Systems. He led that company and the sales activities in the US, Northeast, and also set up the APAC sales team. Vinay began his career in engineering and rose up the engineering ladder to be a center head for the for a US-based captive. He holds 4 U.S. patents on work related to USB, wireless, and code security. He also holds a master's degree in computer science from the University of Southern California, LA, and a bachelor's degree in computer engineering from the University of Pune. He's a charter member of the Thai Pune as well. Vinay, are you ready to take us to the top?
Oh, great. Thank you so much for that introduction. Hi, Nathan.
You bet. Good to be with you today. Okay, let's jump right in. So Altizon, industrial IoT platform. What's the company do and how do you make money?
So we build a platform that has 3 parts to it associated with getting the industrial world connected. So we get industrial assets in manufacturing factories connected, collect data from them, and provide applications that are analytics oriented back to them in a SaaS model. So, so our core business is around getting factories connected and remote assets on the field and giving back SaaS applications to our customers.
So this is very much one of those models where it's kind of a SaaS plus IoT model. Now, have you fully subsidized the actual physical hardware, or do the consumers or customers still have to pay for that as well?
So our first pass in our entire story so far has been on working with situations where the data is already present in the industrial assets that we are connecting to. So there is very little additional hardware that typically is involved in terms of getting the industrial IoT solution going. So, for example, to get a productivity app going, you don't necessarily need to have high-end sensors added that may be providing a new perspective on, let's say, quality. So there's a big emphasis on working with as-is assets and very little add-on hardware in our model.
Okay, very good. So most of the business is pure SaaS.
Correct.
Okay. What's the average customer pay per month for this product, would you say? I'm sure you have a lot of different customer sizes, but give me an average. Make it simple for me.
So in the SaaS model for, let's say, smart manufacturing, you're going to have a situation where people want tiers that are associated with getting a cell, a line, a plant, multiple plants, and then like an enterprise-wide deal. So the SaaS tiering is based on these different models, and it varies anywhere from about $25,000 per annum at the bottom line till about 150 to 200K. Depending on the scale of the implementation associated with the rollout.
And what would you say is closer to an average, of 25,000 or 100,000 a year?
So what's interesting about industrial IoT in particular is that it's a linear scale-up model. So you don't really have an average point in that sense. You have a starting point which may be as low as 25K, and over 3 to 4 years you kind of keep on adding plants and get to that level. So
I totally understand the nature of a cohort analysis on expansion revenue, first year ACV increasing. I'm just curious, when you look at your entire customer base right now, an average price point that they might be at, I hear you're saying between 25 and 100 per year. Would you say, though, if I forced you to an average, it's somewhere in the middle or the lower end or higher end?
Yeah, it's somewhere in the middle then. So
somewhere right in the middle, okay.
Over the first 18 months or so, it would be, let's say, it would be in the middle.
It'd be what, 800?
It will be in the middle. So,
in the middle. Yes, you're talking like 50, 60K, something like that.
Correct.
Yeah, that's great. By the way, very typical kind of land expand model, land at 25, then upsell versus all the linear things you just articulated. Put this on a timeline for me. When did you launch the company? What year?
So we started in April 2013.
Okay. And have you bootstrapped to date or have you raised?
We have raised. So we did our...
Vinay, I liked you so much until now. You've raised. Okay, how much have you raised?
So we've raised about 5 million so far. We are a post-Series A company, and we did that about 2 years ago. We started our story very much in India and kind of focused on getting the Asian market going. So we raised amounts about 2 years ago when we went international to kind of set up a more global sales infrastructure.
Okay, and that means you're raising now. That's a long time. So are you raising currently?
No, not right now, actually. So we're doing okay. It's been 2+ years. And at some point, we will in the next year or so, but primarily driven by how much of a scale up we see on the business possible. It's really going to be around that.
Yeah. Now, how are you cash flow positive at this point?
No, we are not.
So you're still using the money you raised?
Correct. So it's a low burn kind of a model. So while we have done the raise, we are very low on burn. And we're just basically ensuring that we have about a dozen customers which have at least around 8 to 10 of their plants connected. That's the key metric we are getting to. Once we do that, then we can look at raising more or operational break even.
So how many customers are you at today?
So we have about 30 plus enterprise multi-year accounts, and we have about 120 odd active enterprise users on the multi-tenant SaaS free version that we have. And
okay.
so
just to be clear, just to make that in English, you have 30 paying customers and 120 customers who are using free and paid.
Correct.
Okay.
And about 13 out of the 30 are the large $1 billion plus kind of enterprises.
That's great. So can I take the 30 customers times the $5,000? You said 60 grand a year, kind of as an average, which is $5,000 a month. Can I multiply 30 times $5,000 a month? You're doing about 150 grand a month right now in revenue.
So we are around there.
Okay, that's good. And what's growth look like? So if you're doing kind of around 150K today, what were you at in October of 2017, a year ago?
I think one of the biggest thing is that we are seeing it like a 3x year-on-year growth business. Depending on how the circumstances go, that can extend to maybe 4x or 5x. But on a baseline model, we do all of our projections on a 3x year-on-year growth.
That's great. Okay, but looking at historical data, not projections, but actual growth, you went from about 50K a month a year ago to 150 today.
Correct.
That's great.
Correct.
Where's most of that growth come from? Expansion revenue across the old cohort or new customers altogether?
In the initial year, it was, of course, expansion. Now we have a pretty significant, as I said, the 12, 13 major accounts. That is where almost 60% of our growth happens there now.
Oh, wonderful.
So 60% is from the expand model and 40% is from new business that comes in across. And again, there's like a geographic kind of tinge to it. So Europe and Asia contribute quite a bit, and US is about 30%, 40% today.
And when you look at kind of revenue churn per year, what is that at today?
Oh, churn is zero, because in industrial assets, one of the good sides of this is while the growth may be linear, the actual machines, once you get a machine connected on the platform, it never goes away. So the first asset we got connected 5 years ago continues to be on the platform.
Okay, but just to be clear, that also translates to revenue, right? You haven't lost $1 of revenue?
Correct.
Okay.
You never, once you get set on that chart, you just don't lose revenue. So there will be a conversion ratio, let's say when you get a pilot done. And so the pilot to, full-fledged project conversion ratio is around 60-70%. Depending on the nature of the pilot and all that. But once you get past that hurdle, it's pretty straightforward.
And Vinay, what's the kind of average expansion in the first year? So if they start at 25 grand a year in the first year, what do you typically expand them to in year two?
So that's why, at least at the minimum, you can be assured that when somebody starts on this journey, they're going to add at least one more plant in the next 12 months after this is done. So 3 to 6 months for the pilot, and then within the next 9 to 12 months, you'll have one more plant. That's kind of the bare minimum.
Okay, again, so what does that mean in terms of actual percentage expansion? Is that 120% expansion, 180?
It's 100%, right? 25. Just think of it as blocks of 25K, and depending on how many plants that you're looking at adding, you'll have that being linearly scaling up. In some cases, of course, if the data is low and all of that, there could be many more plans that show up before you add up to 100K. But,
so Vinay, just to be clear, you start off at a $25,000 plan. You're saying you pretty accurately predict that's going to grow to 50 grand. So another 25 grand on top of that before year two. Is that accurate?
Correct. So that's where the 3X comes, right? So the X, if I have X revenue in 1 year, year one, 2X is pretty much, something that I would put as a baseline revenue expectation for the next year. And then you get another X coming from new business. So that way 3X is the year-on-year baseline model.
Yeah, I totally understand that. But so if I calculate and go back to a net revenue retention number, you're losing none and you're expanding, call it you doubling, right? So is it fair to say that you've got basically 180, 190% kind of net revenue retention each year?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty high. So are you not charging enough or how do you leverage those great economics to grow the business?
So, I mean, the key point over here is, yes, the industrial IoT sector is still new and nascent. A lot of the first time. There aren't really too many examples of, successful implementations that have gone enterprise wide, right? So there is a lot more handholding that needs to happen There's a lot more education of the system integration ecosystem that needs to happen. So we are still seeing that happen, right? And the market itself has seen many, interesting kind of turnarounds, from G imploding to some of the other, successful startups kind of expanding. So it's an interesting time in terms of the market segment itself. I wish, of course, as always, that we were at this stage 2 years ago, but it just happens that the last 2 years have been far better
Sure.
than
Vinay, what's it costing you to land a new $25,000 ACV account? What's your fully weighted CAC?
So typically around 8 to 10K per is the CAC for that first swipe.
Okay, so you're getting paid back in 6 months typically.
Typically in 6 months. So we have a pretty strong inside sales engine, and then very few feet on the ground.
Yeah. How many people are on the team total?
So we have 45 people,
of which. And how many are inside sales?
Inside sales are 4.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But we do see, again, it's an enterprise kind of a sale. We don't, we are doing, this is about adding, 8 to 10 customers a year kind of a model, right? And the key point over here is that, again, geography matters a lot. So in the US, we literally have, very little footprint, or Europe, very little feet on the ground. Whereas a geography like India, you can afford more feet on the ground, but the deal sizes are smaller. So,
yep.
All these things also play.
Yep. Very good. All right. 45 folks. And where's everyone based?
So we are split between India and the US. So in India, we have our HQ in Pune, and which is close to Bombay. And then I switch between San Jose and Pune. And then we also have a small team in Chicago.
That's great, Vinay. Very good. All right, let's wrap up here with the famous 5. Number 1, what's your favorite business book?
For me, Built to Last. It is the classic that I like.
Number 2, is there an under the radar CEO that you really respect or admire?
So I think my previous boss, who runs a company called Persistent Systems, at least at the global scale, is definitely under the radar. But he runs a listed company which has about 450 million in revenue. So Anand Deshpande, I definitely look up to him a lot.
Anand Deshpande?
Yes.
Very good. Number 3, what's your favorite online tool for building your company?
Oh, I love the entire Google Apps infrastructure, and we are very heavily used on that. So I would put that as an Office 365. Yeah, I think both are phenomenal.
Number 4, how many hours of sleep do you get every night?
I definitely try and ensure that I get 6.
That's good. Okay, good. And which situation? Married, single, kids?
Oh, I have kids. I'm married with one son who's 12 years old.
Okay, married, 1 kiddo, and how old are you?
Oh, I'm 42.
42. Last question. What do you wish your 20-year-old self knew?
Start sooner. I think entrepreneurship as a journey came to me much later in life. I started about when I was 35. So, I definitely felt that, I should get into this journey much earlier.
Guys, start sooner. Founded in 2013, Altizon Systems, IoT plus SaaS, better metrics, better reporting. He's got 30 customers paying about $5,000 per month. They're doing about $150,000 per month right now in revenue. That's up 3x year over year when they were doing $50,000 a month just a year ago in October of 2017. They've raised $5 million to do that. 180% net revenue retention annually. They really are not losing any revenue there, and expansion is really through the roof. So good growth there. To get a new $25,000 account customer, they're spending about $10,000 to do that. So 6-month payback. Team of 45 in India and the US. Vinay, thanks for taking us to the top.
Thank you so much, Nathan. Pleasure talking to you.